We run that back. Hello, hello, and welcome to Live on Lockdown, episode 10. I'm Baratunde Thurston, and I've just learned to unmute myself, even though I live in Zoom all day, every day. Even us professionals with the super dope headphones and the bass adjusting microphone, none of that does any good if you don't hit the right button in software. So I want to welcome you to episode 10 of Live on Lockdown. I am joined with my new virtual wallpaper. This is my boy Bob. This is my other boy Bob. They are stars of the great movie Office Space. And I just, every once in a while I want to check in, make sure I'm still doing the job I'm supposed to be doing. We could all be re-interviewing for our jobs when this thing is over. So I thought the Bobs might give us the right spirit that we need to get into this. Now I'm going to play one more thing for you because I neglected to text people to let them know that this is happening. So I want to get that message out. And while I do that, I'm going to play a fun video that a schoolmate of mine did from college. That's like a remix of Little Mermaid, just in time for the pandemic situation that we're in here. So that's rolling. And as a reminder, the chat room is available. If you have questions you want to throw in using the little question feature, or just talk amongst each other, drop links, etc., I will look at that every now and then throughout this. As soon as I remember. Oh, we can't. Yeah, you can't hear me. We fixed that part. Thank you. You chatted that to me. See, if I've been reading the chat room I was advertising, I would have known that you couldn't hear me. Also, delirious, and it's already just the beginning of the week, or is it the middle of the week, or is it the end of? I don't even know how time works anymore. Let me just share this video while I figure out my place in the universe, and let's try that.
I've got dreams to go to Target or just a supermarket. I haven't got enough pennies nor any debt. Cracking polish on my toes and no tissues for my nose. My dreams are peeking out around the edges. Just imagine that the malls again are open. But after this, the retail's obsolete. I'll have learned some painful lessons and made some hair confessions. And yet I'll shout again, I've got a dream. I've got a dream. I've got a dream. I just want to see an empty quarantine. But I pledge to stay at home now and not go crazy somehow. Like everyone inside, I've got a dream. How I've yearned for work from homeless, but now I miss the office. Homeschooling was invented by the devil. Now my kids are here all day and I want to run away. My anger is on quite another level. How I would love to zoom to meet kids on the highway. No more wearing shorts below the screen. Yes, I'd rather be in traffic than teaching mathematics. Like all you other folks, I've got a dream. I've got a dream. I've got a dream. So I think I'm slowly running out of steam. So I feel myself and staying, 'cause COVID she ain't playing. I know I'll live again, I've got a dream.
All right, that was my college friend Belinda McIntosh. Her brother texted it to me all the way from Jamaica, and it was adorable and doesn't make me feel like slamming my head into the wall or screaming at the president. So those are marks of success and like things worth doing more of. If something doesn't generate that feeling, then you should probably encourage it. So welcome again. This is episode 10. I see Dan Zoller in the room. What's up, man? Give me a little wave. It looks like you have the world's largest beanie because of the positioning of your. There we go. I'm just going to put you up on the screen. Go back to the fun beanie angle, Dan. Let's go back to the fun beanie. There we go. That's the one that I like seeing. I'm just unmuted you. Can you say something?
Yeah, what's up, Baratunde?
What's up?
Greetings from Santa Monica. How are you?
Oh, you're on the whole other side of the county. How are things over there, Dan?
It's okay.
Yeah.
that they closed the beaches, they closed some of the parks and the trails, but it's beautiful out today. About to go for a walk. There's a secret park that's still open that they haven't closed down yet, and that's like my one little refuge. So trying to make the most of that.
The last park in Santa Monica.
Might be the last one standing, but until they find it and people complain and close it, it's my spot. So I'm enjoying it.
Good, good. Well, if you want to bring us with you, we won't be mad. I'm sure there's people in the studio here who would love to find a secret park to go to. So, you're
Okay,
clearly able to go mobile, no pressure, but we're all
perhaps I
depending on
will.
you to save our minds.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, man. That was Dan Zoller, who I should unpin his video. Oh, look, a new virtual background. It's from the Matrix. So yeah, good to see your face. Let me throw this in gallery view and see the other faces. Oh, good, good. Look at these names. Look at this. Someone who wants to tell us where you are and how you're doing, use the hand wave gesture built into Zoom, or you can use the hand wave gesture built into the human body. If you've got your camera on, just wave like this, and I will pop into your living room and have a little chat with you and see how things are going. Maybe you're going for a walk in a secret park. No pressure, of course, but I will. If I know you already, I'm just going to grab you. Like Dan, I didn't ask. I'm just grabbing him. That's what the cost of friendship with me is. But if you're interested in having more of a chat, use the hand wave or the software signal, or just type it in the chat room. There's all these different options because not everybody's so dope with the software. While I wait for those, I am going to remind you that today is Sunday. Apparently, the date, according to my computer, is the 19th of April. And I don't necessarily believe that because who knows what time it is or what location we are in. But we've got some good stuff lined up for the show. So let me just go over to my docket. And I think the thing I'm most excited to share is what I heard back from readers of the email. Lots of viewers. There's a big overlap, but I put out a survey last night and I was asking, how are you staying sane? What are you seeing in your community that's good? And so I'm going to share some of those results with you. You'll be kind of the first to see a big chunk of them. It's very inspiring. It's very beautiful. It's like the antidote to the daily White House press briefing. So I'm very much appreciate that. I also have a few good news items to share. There's a nurse down in the southeast of the U.S. who came up with something better than an N95. I'll call it the N99. And we're gonna just watch that video. I don't know her personally. It's just some found thing that Elizabeth, my fiance, shared with me. I'd like to be able to share some good news. And then there's some scary, confusing things happening in terms of resistance to the physical slash social distancing orders that we're seeing all across the country and sort of discouraging of following that mandate. And there's some pretty good articles written about that. So I want to get into that. So, in fact, why don't I start with this just pretty strong image. I'm not going to say it's a great image, but it's a strong image because we've all started to see, images that remind us of The Walking Dead, and we are in this world of people demanding their freedom and their rights, but it's kind of well, it's awkward. I'll just put it that way. Here's the the seminal image that has popped up over media this past week. We had Kentucky, North Carolina, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Southern California, and more. Uh, People have been encouraged by certain types of radio and media to go protest, to liberate the country, to end the lockdown, to demand recalls of their governors. And this image by photographer Joshua Bickle sort of captured it. One of my friends shared this online and said, these are White Walkers. Like they literally looked like something out of The Walking Dead. And there's, I think what this makes me think of is a couple of things. One is sort of the absurdity and the frustration from a public health perspective. Another is knowing that there are people who really can't afford to stay home. And so they are legit upset because they can't go out and make money. And I think what we're seeing in these protests is a mix of all that. Some of it is honestly just conspiratorial nonsense. And because a Democratic governor asks for something, a Republican legislature or rabble rouser or pundit wants to try to undermine that and say this is all a hoax and sort of misinformation, conspiracy, disinformation stuff versus true economic desperation. But I'm struck because I want to make everything about race because I'm a racist. In who's allowed to protest, and I remember a lot of the Black Lives Matter moments, and people were organizing these civil disobedience campaigns inside a Penn Station or across a freeway, blocking traffic, sort of Chris Christie style, right? Blocking traffic. And folks were very upset because their lives were being inconvenienced. And they were upset because the people causing that inconvenience were just these random black kids who were just upset because the cops are doing their jobs. Like that was kind of the counter argument. Like, don't do crime, you won't get shot by the cops, and please don't disrupt my commute because I got to get home in time to watch Real Housewives or whatever. And so I'm pretty sure there's like an overlap of that type of person, as well as with the person who was upset with the NFL players, Colin Kaepernick, etc., for taking a knee during the national anthem, which really didn't hurt anybody, right? Didn't even inconvenience your commute home to like, catch your hot pockets. But there's like the community that was upset about the Black Lives Matter protest, the community that's upset about the NFL players protest. There's a huge Venn diagram type overlap between them and the folks who are out in the streets right now talking about save our beaches in San Diego, which is not, the community that's out there flexing their Range Rovers isn't necessarily hurting that much. They're not the frontline workers who probably don't have time to protest because they're being forced to go to the grocery store right now or deliver food for the rest of us. So I think while there is, how can I put this? While there is both nonsense and legitimacy in the spectrum of people who are bucking the social distancing orders of their governors. There's the conspiracy people, there's the true folks who can't afford to stay home. I think there's a circle within that which is just hypocritical, because the compassion was never extended to those who are protesting for their lives, for the right to not be killed by law enforcement. And that was just dismissed. I mean, Mike Pence himself did a whole stunt where he flew across the damn country to go to an NFL game to make a statement about how you shouldn't protest at NFL games. Totally missing the irony of the fact that he just went out of his way to protest at an NFL game to make a point about don't protest at NFL games. But now the very people who are attached to the president in the same way that Mike Pence is are flexing their right to protest with no sense of um, lack of reciprocity or compassion or irony in what they are demanding of themselves, but never willing to extend to the other. And I think it's just something that's been frustrating me because it's the folks who vote left who are always being asked to like extend our compassion, and we got to understand the world from this point of view. And now it's literally life or death for like all of us. And that's the time when the other side decides I want to stand up for my right to it's like really it's not, you couldn't believe that when folks like me were getting gunned down for no good reason, but now you're willing to endanger everybody else including your own community for your just it's hard to take it at total face value, even though like the compassionate desiring person in me um knows that I shouldn't just, dismiss folks, even though I disagree with them, even if they're putting all of us at risk. So mild rant while sharing some information. I'm going to share something I never have shared in a show that I've ever run before. Is an article from the National Review, and I'm doing that because I think there's something to be learned uh, from how they write about it. The National Review is a right-leaning publication. It's not sort of One American News Breitbart level envelope pushing. It's a little more. Um, I don't know what the word to describe it is, but it's not as out there. It's not as outlandish from my political perspective. So they're asking how much longer can lockdown cooperation last? And you kind of look. There's some data in here which I found interesting. 74% of U.S. voters support the national quarantine, 19 oppose, 7 are unsure. But if you look in the UK, our 74% here that support it, it's up to 93% there. And I'm sure it's much higher across a lot of Europe and the rest of the developed. Well, are we developed? The lack of PPE and the feds coming in and stealing from states would suggest we aren't. So I'm not even sure it's fair to call the US developed. We talked about that on the show last week with the Mona Chalabi Instagram art that she put up. So yeah, you're having, part of their questioning is like, look, America's culturally just a bit different here. Many sides are being asked to concede something in these orders, whether it's, demand for criminal justice reform right now from the left, or rabid individual freedom from the right in terms of being told to stay in your home and not open your business. You're legally not supposed to be doing that. So these sacred cows are being tested on either side. But how long will U.S. attitudes remain in favor of these restrictions? And I think that answer comes down in part to when we know we can get out of this scenario. So that's kind of one of the main topics I wanted to drop on you, riff on a little bit, has to do with these orders. And there's a nurse friend that I've got in the Midwest who's just livid about what's happening, about the justification being made and the way these protests are being done, because they're being sort of health-wise irresponsible. You see on the steps in Michigan, my sister actually was caught in traffic by these big protests in Lansing. And so were ambulances, which is like, if there's ever a time to maybe not interfere with the delivery of healthcare services, this would be it. But thousands of people showed up in their vehicles and hundreds left them and gathered on the state capitol, many of those with no face coverings whatsoever, screaming, spewing their respiratory droplets like all over each other. And this nurse said, if there are 100 Skittles in a bag and 5% of those were poison, would you give that bag of Skittles to your family? And I think there's a risk being taken, not just by the people doing these, kind of irresponsible from a public health perspective protests, not just among themselves, but the rest of us, because they're going to go to a post office or go to a grocery store or get a delivery or interact with the mail carrier. And that person's going to interact with somebody who is following the rules. It's kind of like vaccination. Like, it doesn't work unless the vast majority of us do it and are consistent with it. So the good news is, despite the news coverage, most of us are down and most of us are adhering to this. But the bad news is, I think the patience is starting to wear thin. And I do worry for those of us who are adhering to this and those not. Like, I don't want even the people I disagree with to be laid out on a ventilator or choking and dying to death from this thing, even though they could have prevented it. And maybe we could institute some new rules, which is like, you sign a waiver. If you're gonna go do a non-face covered, non-socially distant, civil disobedient action, cool. Like, the Constitution totally supports you, but what doesn't support you? These here hospitals, right? And these ICU beds, and you just get put at the bottom of the list. You don't get totally denied care, but there's a prioritization. And that's kind of like the free market. You give people choice and it's freedom, and you get to choose how you exercise that freedom, but you don't get to choose to impede the choices of others who've chosen to be responsible with that behavior. Maybe that's how that freedom, love, and strain, quote unquote, in America could be satisfied, with just making a little bit more of a compromise. So with that, I'm going to share something to break the flow a little bit. Ina Pinkney sent me this. She is just wonderful at sending really fun videos that make us all feel less like garbage, I would say. So this is under a minute of joy from Ina to all of us. Let's see if I get a little faster. Yes.
We could change the whole sky color to purple.
Excuse me. Yes.
Wait, why you look like?
Sorry. Let's get it from the beginning. Oh, I know why that happened. Okay, here we go. Play.
We could change the whole sky color to purple.
Excuse me. Yes.
Wait, why you look like me?
I'm your twin.
For real?
Nah, I'm just fucking with you, man. We aliens, bro. You the first face we saw, so we thought everybody looked like you. We all look like you.
Hey, ask him why his nose got two nostrils.
He's not gonna know.
Just ask him.
Why your nose got 2 nostrils?
I don't know.
See, I told you he don't know.
Man.
Hey, we're here to take this planet, so we gonna need y'all to lead.
What?
Usually we like new planets, but we decided not to be bougie. We gonna take this one, and it's definitely used. Like, it ain't even refurbished.
Wait, where are we supposed to go?
We don't care where y'all go. Y'all could try Pluto.
What if we kill y'all?
I mean, you could kill us. How many questers you got?
What's a quester?
How you gonna kill us if you don't got no questers? Hey, bro, they ain't got no questers. He ain't got no questers. How he gonna kill us without questers?
That's what I said.
Everybody know you need questers.
We'll just use guns.
Wait, hold on. Are you even the leader? No, our leader is Donald. I'm the leader.
We could change the whole sky color to
All right, and that is a video called "Real Aliens Be Like" from Jeff Wright. I thought it was mad funny, and it helps the pandemic go down. We are seeing in the chat, and since you put it in the chat, I will share it. Wesley Faulkner, who's been with us on the show a lot and came on camera with us a few weeks ago, just lost his job in developer relations a few days ago. So sorry to hear that, Wesley. Just want to voice it out loud. And thanks for showing up anyway. I hope this can help in some way. And if there's anything we can do to be helpful, let us know. Drop it in the chat. Or if there's something to amplify in terms of your LinkedIn, or if you just need cheering up or want to vent, these are all options available. So let us know. You know how to use the hand wavy feature in this here software. So what I'm going to share now is I want to jump into some of what people have been sharing in these survey responses, because it's been really, it's been nice to see. It's been nice to see, and I think it balances out some of the devastation that we're also feeling. I'm also in this show. I want to share a clip from Gustavo Rivera, the New York State Senator, and also from my sister, who I interviewed last week. I haven't published any of hers yet, but I just went through the transcript, and there's like a 4-minute block that you're going to get an exclusive to, and then you'll tell me if you can tell that we're related, even though we're so different, but we're so not at all different. So anyway, I sent this out in email last night, and I decided to process it visually a little bit to make it more kind of legible. And so one of the questions, I asked 3 questions of people essentially, and the first was like, how are you staying sane right now? And here's just a few of these responses in no particular order, and it's all anonymous. Walking with friends, aiming for 10 feet apart, humor, reaching out to humans I miss and making masks for those in need, meditation. I get up in the morning, brush teeth, get dressed, drink coffee, answer emails, put on makeup, brush my hair. Even keeping a schedule of what I'm doing today helps. And again, that sense of time is really thrown off for so many of us. And so someone's given themselves a lot. Skipping out on news is a consistent theme that came up in a lot of the sanity, answers. Tons of media. No one mentioned Quibi. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, even PBS. But no one's saying like I'm binging on Quibi. So I'm just curious if anybody out there is like Quibiing real hard. Is that the right word? I YouTube, do I Quibi? Not sure. Cats and yoga, maybe together. Cat yoga, Koga, Philoga, yoga line. I'm trying to work that on the fly. Supporting restaurants and breweries mixed in with work and play. So there's a bunch of this. And if you're not on the email list, I can see if I'll drop a link in the chat before we're done when I'm running another video, and I can see what's happening with you if you want to add to it. Because my goal is to actually share these more publicly and just let people flip through and kind of get inspired, like a mood board for the coronavirus. See, Jose Vargas says, just watched a doc on the 808 on Quibi. And Jen Nickel, I need to get a schedule. Yeesh. Yeah. I feel like you have a schedule. Don't you have like a super serious job, Jen? We should probably bring you back on camera. I'm curious how things are going in Indiana. This is a realist one. There's so many parents out there. Staying occupied with a 4-year-old means not having much time to think about anything else besides a 4-year-old and unsuccessfully avoiding the news. So define sane. So real. So real. We've all been doing a lot more video chats, and as a household without kids, I'm realizing, like, I guess you call it my childless privilege right now, in that I sort of control the volume in the room that I'm in. For example, I have a general awareness of and control over the location and velocity of items in my house. You know, I've been so many like Zoom happy hours or conference calls or meetings for volunteer efforts, and something will just go flying through the background. Oh, there's a spatula. There's a stuffed animal. Was that a milk crate filled with actual milk? Like what's happening? Because folks are just trying to figure things out. And then some of my friends have gotten a bit more steady with it, but it's still a little unpredictable. And kids are not in the most natural of environments right now. So respect to those of you who have the youngsters in your lives. And for those of us who don't, we should recognize our relative excess of energy and control and like battery charge in this moment. Jen says, I'm hiding in my closet right now. Oh, that's wild. All right, so I'm going to go to the gallery view and see who else is on camera. Jen, can I come to you? Give me a thumbs up if I can come to you. Yeah, okay, here we go. We're going, we're doing it. We've unmuted. We're Jen Nickel. You are live on lockdown. Tell us about this closet you're in.
I'm in my closet. I have found this is the best place to Zoom ever. Nobody comes up here looking for me in my closet. Like you can see, right? Like
You are really in a closet. You're not even joking. That's amazing.
my husband found like a pillow. I had like a couple of pillows set up for like, butt support or whatever. And he was like, "What are these pillows doing in the closet?" And he was like, "Oh, Jen was on a Zoom."
Yes. Josina Reeves says, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
That I'm in my closet.
That's where we're at now, Jen. That's where we're at now, where we can really celebrate a fellow human being, just like being in a closet, just escaping the noise and the chaos of the other humans you're trapped with. And
oh, snap, Wesley.
Wesley wow, Wesley, seeing R. Kelly's in there. Too soon, Wesley, too soon.
Didn't they come out with a sequel or something? I don't know. I've started Hintified now that you have recommended Hintified. So
and what do you think?
I'm in it.
Yes.
I'm in it. Thank you for that recommendation.
You are so welcome. I repeat that for everyone. Hintified's a great show on Netflix, way greater than the stupid Tiger King, which is nonsense. Hintified's a real story based in Boyle Heights neighborhood of East LA, just off of downtown. It's about gentrification. It's about Latinx identity. It's about family. And it's very funny. It's one of the few shows that makes me laugh out loud and cry out loud. And it's not so earnest and so heavy-handedly woke that you feel like you're being lectured. That was my take on it. That's why I really loved it, because there's a lot of shows that try to address some of these topics, but it's hard to strike that balance of like overly clowning and not really saying anything, or saying so many valuable things with not enough clowning. So thanks for taking the recommendation seriously.
Absolutely.
So we talked with you a few weeks ago. You were out on your front porch. You were talking about your work situation and the schools. And I don't know if I fully recall, are you the principal of a grade school? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a principal of an elementary school, and our superintendent said that we were all going to get paid. And that has been so relieving to so many different people. It's been really good. And now, like, we are an urban district, so we don't have like one-to-one necessarily, like one technology source to one child. That's, I don't know, the semantics, the language, the jargon.
Where are you based again? Remind everybody.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah, so we're like building the plane as we fly it, because we didn't have any sort of like e-learning plan or remote learning plan. And now we're like, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's go ahead and try this out. And it's just, it's been interesting, and it definitely is a lift.
What do you think what are some of the harder parts of this? Like what is severely broken, or what's extra frustrating, or kind of who's being most left behind? Like where's the pain point the highest from your perspective?
I feel like I'm in that weird generational thing, like where, I don't know, like some of my teachers, they really want me to just text them the answer or like email them. And I'm like, I don't know, can I just call you? Can I explain it? Like, the thingy down on the left-hand side of your screen. Like, so it's just been like hard, like as a principal, to like lead people that are in my sort of like, I would like to rather talk it out, and then also the people that are like trying to like text it out too. So just finding a balance.
And how about the relationship with parents? Like, how has that shifted?
It's like we are in contact, but like they're mainly in contact with the teachers. Like I like have emailed and I've called, which is I don't know if it's weird or not, but like I've called a couple parents of like, hey, like how's everything going? You all right? Just checking in. Like I talk to you all the time, like when we were in school.
Right.
And I miss your voice, like is it okay that I'm calling you?
Oh. And have there been any unexpected or maybe even planned like positive outcomes, like any joyful moments or any surprising good parts to this?
Yeah, like our parents and like everybody in our community has like rallied around each other and our parents take care of each other, which was really really cool. Like I had a like one parent that was kind of like out of gas and couldn't get to like a food pickup spot, and somebody else was like, it's okay boo, we got you, and they went and they like got them food and they did all of these things, and that is like why I love the school that I am at. So it was cool to see the people that
Yeah.
they're just rising up,
And when you say rise up, you don't mean like in a revolutionary, please let's infect all of our grandparents kind of way. You mean more in a helping
No,
each
like
other out.
rallying, like we got you, we are going to rise up and we're taking you with you, like you're
Yeah.
coming with us.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay.
Anything else you want to talk about? All right. Thank you for allowing us. You're our first report from a closet, Jen. And so I just want to like thank you for being an innovator, for being a pioneer here in Live on Lockdown. We've been in a lot of places with people, but this is our first closet correspondent. So give it up for closet correspondent Jen Nickel, everybody. All right, that was Jen Nickel, a elementary school principal in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and she misses her parents, which I think is really beautiful and really adorable. We have a really nice crew in here. Thank you for those who've joined up. I see a name that I recognize and a face I recognize in Dawn Barber. If Dawn, if you would give me a thumbs up, if it's okay to come to you, it is all right. So we're going live. We're in with Dawn Barber. Please, Dawn, let us know where you are and how you are.
Hi, Baratunde, dear. I'm sorry I was late. I was actually visiting my mother. I'm in New York City. I've been in New York City my whole life, actually. I grew up in New York City, and New York's a little bit crazy now. I am very grateful that I love my husband. Very grateful that I love my husband. Very grateful that that we've been married a long time, and although this is hard in some ways, that we're just in our groove that we've been in for a long time in many respects. I'm sad without my being able to hug my daughter. I wish I could.
Yeah. And what's first of all, thank you for keeping it so real on the husband front. That's like there are many folks who are trapped with a loved one or a partner or just a Craigslist roommate, and they don't have we'll call it love privilege. I was checking my childless privilege earlier. You've got love privilege where you still love your husband, which
Yeah,
is very real.
grateful. Very grateful.
And what's, I know you've been involved in technology and the startup world for such a long time. What are you doing for work right now? And what's kind of happening in terms of your professional community in this moment?
Well, I run something called Creative Tech Week, or co-founded it with a friend, and it's kind of not really happening right at the moment.
Yeah.
So that is unfortunate. But I'm staying connected to lots of people, and there's lots of sort of things going on. The tech community, in a lot of ways is disrupted, of course, like everything else, but there's also a lot of folks working on using technology and how it can help our city and our world for the future, and our present COVID situation and our post-COVID world. And there's just a lot of upheaval, a lot of upheaval, a lot of Zooms, a lot of conversations. But there's also a lot of businesses and startups that have not done well, and people have had to lay people off, furlough people, whatever, I know a lot of those folks too. And that's tough for some folks. I mean, it's tough for everyone, right?
Yeah.
I do feel very grateful that we have Governor Cuomo as our governor. I have to say that. I'm, sad that we have a moron for president, but I'm grateful that we have him at our, as one of our leaders in New York.
What do you? What about him are you most grateful for? It feels like a Christmas special all of a sudden.
Should I have some lights? I'm just grateful that I feel like he is adeptly managing a relationship with Trump that is benefiting New Yorkers, that I think is very delicate and difficult. And so I feel like if we didn't have someone who sort of understood politics in the way that he does, we might be worse off. And so I haven't always agreed with everything, but I feel like he's stepped up in a way that is serving us as best it can right at this moment.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's the case, and I'm hoping that continues.
Someone, I'll check on the pronunciation later, but I'm going to say Josina or Hosina Reeves in the chat raised something I was going to ask you as well, which is, de Blasio versus Cuomo, the final reckoning. Like, what's the status of that pettiness? And as a resident of both the city and the state, what's your perspective on those two?
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not gonna grace the pissing match situation. So I'm just going to say that it doesn't serve us well. It's even before this situation, it doesn't serve us well to have them, kind of at odds. I think both of them are trying to do their best. I do believe that, but I don't think it serves us well, and frankly, it doesn't serve them well either to not coordinate better. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well,
I appreciate the positive things that both of them are doing.
Yo, you should run for office. That was so crisp. My goodness, straight up press secretary level. I like it. Is there anything else you want to raise or bring up or share, Dawn?
No, I miss you, Baratunde. I mean, I miss seeing the people that I, care about. And I do miss our tech community in general, kind of gathering in the different places that I, gather with it in normal life. So, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate your community as well. And I'm grateful to be a part of it as well.
Well, thank you. I miss you too. That's Dawn Barber in New York City, Creative Tech Week. In fact, Dawn, this was one of the last humans I saw pre-shutdown. I'm a member. I no longer physically live in New York, but a big chunk of my heart and some vestiges of my finances live in that city still, because New York never lets you go. It's the mafia when it comes to your money and your soul. And so BetaWorks Studios is a center that we are both members of. And I was there truly like one of the last days that I was in New York, which is one of the last days I was out in the world. It was like we came back from there on the 11th of March and could start to feel the curtain drop. And there were these rumors flying around, the island's going to be quarantined. But there were also people just going about like everything was okay. It was a very strange mix. But I ran into Dawn at that, and it was always a friendly reunion. So this isn't quite the same. Every Zoom room kind of looks the same, which is why I am constantly switching up my virtual backgrounds. And I'm so tired of the Matrix right now. So I'm going to take us to the spirit realm where the Black Panthers go after they leave this world. And then I'm going to check out the gallery. So I see a name that I have probably mispronounced, but I said Josina. I also said Hosina. Can you give me a thumbs up if I can come to you? Thumbs up. All right. Again, I don't want to, if I don't know you, I'm not just going to non-consensually drop into your living room. It feels very uncool. So please pronounce your name for us and then let us know where you are and how you're doing.
Josina, and I'm in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
and I'm good. I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that, Josina. And thank you for joining us here and live on Lockdown.
Thank you.
So what's
And can I
happening?
just say,
Please, yeah.
I jumped in this call in between watching Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. so, so your last background made me really happy.
Good, good. Well, that's proof that you're actually in the Matrix, Josina. There are no
I am.
coincidences. Yep.
No. Wait, that's a bad thing. Ah, damn.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not a judgment call. It just is. Being in the Matrix doesn't have to be bad if we bend it to our will and make good things happen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm running
Thank
for
you.
president of the Matrix. So
I'll vote for you.
thank you. I
I
think.
vote for everything. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I vote for everything. Well, now that your
I
endorsement
vote
just
for
went
everyone.
from valuable to meaningless in like 2 seconds. I'll vote for you. Hell, I'll vote for anybody. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Josina. So tell us about your perspective on this. Where are you in Brooklyn? How are you adjusting to the quarantine-ish lifestyle? What's good? What's not good?
Yeah, I'm in Flatbush. Um, if you know Flatbush at all, I'm right behind Erasmus Hall High School. So I'm like in the thick of like the Caribbean community. A lot of denial in my neighborhood.
Yeah, what is that?
A
What is it
lot
when
of
you say
denial.
when you say a lot of denial? What does that look like? How does the denial show up?
It's like a lot of dudes standing in crowds with masks on their chins, like right here. So not good social distancing happening in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. And people are getting sick in this neighborhood, but they're not telling other people, I think. So it's fascinating. I'm a business owner, small business.
Yeah.
So we are not working right now. We're
What's the
not
business?
paying our workers right now. We work in the architecture and design field. And so we help architects keep track of their materials, which is very hands-on.
Yeah.
Which means when this all happened, we couldn't go to work. We couldn't send our employees to work. So it's been 4 weeks now without an invoice, without being able to pay our people. We put in the request for PPP and that money dried up before we got any of it. So it's really, that part of it is really tough,
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. It seems like in this country right now, anything with like multiple P's just isn't getting to where it's supposed to.
right?
PPP, PPE, I don't PPT, even the PowerPoint files aren't showing up like on time. The way that nobody's even using PowerPoint anymore. Not to be glib about your real situation, just trying to find a way through the
It's
mental strain of all this. How has your team responded? How are people sort of emotionally dealing with this, and also just fiscally, like how's your business able to subsist,
yeah.
in the no invoice world?
Yeah. So we were able to work through the middle of March, um, which put a nice little chunk in for my husband and I who own the business,
Yeah,
which means we can coast, but we can't afford to pay anybody.
right.
And nobody's working anyway. And that balance is really hard. But we're, like we talk to our employees all the time and they're in such good emotional spaces. They understand where we are, where they are. They understand none of this is in our control. And they're doing what they got to do. Most of them are artists, or they're semi-retired, or they're in school. So everybody's just doing what they got to do,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
good.
that
Yeah.
is good. That is good. And thank you for thanks for showing up in the show. Thanks for bringing us into your, unsurprisingly well-designed room. Now that we know the business, all those nice
Thank you.
frames, positions your show kind of adds up, Josina. When this is all done,
Thank
you
you.
might have some business coming from this crowd. Is there anything
We
else
were-
you want to bring up, share, ask?
No, I'm just really glad, I am so glad I got a chance to be on this call and see how nice this community is. I'm like really loving this Zoom experience that has happened because of the quarantine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, normally you got to go out, you got to pay for brunch, you know, to get together with people. You got to deal with the awkward hi hug, you know. And I just really appreciate being able to like gather in some sweatpants and, you know, maybe or maybe not wearing a bra. Like, I like this. This is cool. So thank you.
This is cool. Well, that is Josina Reeves in Flatbush, Brooklyn. Thank you so much, and good luck to you and to your business. I'm going to go back to the gallery view because I see that our walking correspondent is out in the world. We got Dan Zoller is out in the world wearing his face covering like a dude from Flatbush, Brooklyn, just under the chin, but at least not gathered with other people. How things looking out there, Dan? What's the outside like?
It's looking pretty good. There are actually quite a few people around here. I'll give you a little panoramic view. People seem to be obeying social distancing, but people are walking around. It's picnic weather. So yeah, let's see. I have a feeling my park is going to be pretty popping on a weekend day. Kids, usually see a lot of yoga mats and personal trainers doing training sessions. So
okay, so Dan's audio is what we call in the business garbage. So I put Dan back on mute, but we're just gonna take in because we got somebody out in the wild and it's just kind of beautiful. So I'm gonna leave him up as the background while I continue to talk over the rest of the show. Look at those trees, clouds. When was the last time you saw a cloud? Oh, it's so nice. It's so beautiful. Santa Monica is really what they say it is. All right, that's I'm gonna unpin the video. That was Dan Zoller letting me abuse him because we went to college together. Membership has its privileges. So at this stage, I'm going to share because we're coming in. We always run out of time on this thing. I feel like these shows, now I see how Rush Limbaugh can do 3 hours of this. And he's like way less fun also. He's just like angrily yelling stuff. But once you start talking to people, it could just go for hours. So I want to respect your time as well as mine and keep some of my promises. So the first thing I'm going to share is actually connected to, we've had two New Yorkers that we've heard from on the call. And so this is a New York State Senator and friend of mine, Gustavo Rivera. I shared a bit of his interview on Instagram this week. Fiery rebuke of Governor Cuomo, while also praising, you know, in the way that Dawn did with us today, his effective leadership through this. Some choices he's made which just feel very not good, shall we say. But this clip is not about that because I already put that out. This is about what we do after this is all over, the post-COVID world, again, referencing Dawn's language. So here's Gustavo and me taped from an Instagram live interview, but recaptioned for your viewing and reading pleasure.
Well, I would say to the people that are watching, I know that the concern for everybody is, you know, how long is this going to take, right? There's a question that everybody asks, like, when are we going to go back to normalcy? And I would suggest to everyone that we deal with the fact that there is no way in hell that we cannot be in a fundamentally different place when we come out at the other end. And it is up to people who care about making this a more just society, who are seeing, for many of us and many activists and many people, we have seen these systems and we have been identifying them and talking about them forever. Now they are, you know, blatantly there for everyone to see. And so it is our opportunity, not only our opportunity, but our obligation for those of us who care about a more just world. We have to take this opportunity and we have to use it to make sure that when we come out at the other end, and we are still in the middle of the crisis, but when we come out at the other end, we cannot let this go back to the way things were. We had the privilege for so many years, we had the privilege in this country of being able to ignore the fact that so many of our sisters and brothers were one paycheck away from being kicked out their house. They were so close to the edge. We've been so privileged to be able to ignore that fact about so many Americans, because whenever we went to a supermarket, we had 50 types of cereal to choose from. You know, we had this thing in front of us and we had not been able to, there's many of us who knew it already, but we are privileged in this country to be able to ignore it. So what I would ask everyone to do is certainly please stay home, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, take care of your elders around you, take care of your community. And then make sure that as you take that that when we get out at the other end, make sure that we use that same energy to demand from the powers that be that the systems that we set up then cannot be the same systems that we have now. Not on healthcare, not on education, not on employment. Can't be. It can't be. And so that is what I would say to everybody.
And that's what he said to all of us. So that was the New York State Senator Gustavo Rivera. He represents the 33rd District in New York, which is the Bronx. And those are really beautiful, somewhat optimistic, but also fiery and accountability demanding wise words from someone way younger. Well, not way younger, but like slightly younger than me. Kids these days, am I right? So we have a few minutes left, and I think the way I'm going to spend them, I'm definitely going to share this clip from my sister because y'all need to recognize the amazingness that she is. But I'm also just going to take you on a little web browser tour through some resources so that you know some interesting stuff coming up. Let's see if I can do all that at the same damn time. Okay. So I'm going to share that window. I'm going to come back here. And so we did that. Here's my Twitter. We did that. This is just fun. I'm just going to play it for you because. Right? That was amazing. That little baby just impressed herself or himself or themselves. So that was fun. We went through some of the, great responses in terms of the survey. Again, I'll put more in the email this week in terms of how you can explore what many of you shared with me. But there is a lot of beauty and interesting stuff going on. The Brooklyn Public Library is up to something very interesting, and I continue to serve on the board of that largely physical institution in this time, which is interesting. But they got a lot of virtual programming. And the plan had always been this year to launch this 28th Amendment project to draft a potential 28th Amendment to the US Constitution. And we got a lot of time on our hands now, so why not fix the Constitution? In fact, based on what Gustavo was just saying, like we can't go back to the way things were, we should move forward, in our own expectations and standards for ourselves in the form of the Constitution. So they are doing this effort is at BK Lynn Library, bklynlibrary.org. And it's through Zoom, which, Josina's going to love. So you can partake in this process to help draft a 28th Amendment. And they've got different people moderating the discussion groups and kind of the working groups. And it's coming up, in April into May, all virtual so far. So please consider checking that out. And now I'm going to dismount on my sister. So my sister is Belinda. She is 9 years older than me. She's been running this yoga studio for 10 years in Central Michigan in Lansing, the only donation-based full-time yoga studio in that whole state. And I wanted to talk with her about a lot of things. I wanted to talk with her about how she's doing. I wanted to talk with her about the protest. She shared some video on Facebook about being trapped in that protest. But my sister's also like a very spiritually evolved person. And so I think just as the baby brother, I wanted to talk to my big sister and like have her tell me this is going to be all right. And so she didn't do that exactly, but she did bring something wise and lovely. So this will be, the last clip I play, and let me just set it up in the right way. Oh, that rhymed. I didn't even mean for it to. I'm like a poet. Didn't know it. All right, here we go. Okay.
I went to go pick him up. I didn't wait for anybody. I don't want anybody catching
On that, in that spirit, what are some of the good things you're seeing that have emerged or that might emerge from this moment?
I have seen some creative ways of caring. I have seen some therapists who are working with local AIDS patients who don't have cell phones or landlines or internet, get in their car with supplies to go and try to find their clients and find, where are you? Are you being safe? Do you have the right information? Here are some masks. I've seen connection with people getting to know their neighbors, knocking on the door and then running back about 10 feet and then go,
But and to check in, like, hey, I'm going to go to this shop, and is there something that you need? Myself, my next door neighbor, Mr. Kelly, he said, yeah, young lady, I need some of that hand wash stuff. And I said, sanitizer? And I said, good luck with that, but I will try my best.
Yeah.
And he also wanted some Lysol. And last week, at the end of last week, it was 2 weeks, but I scored some Lysol.
All right.
And took him some face masks. He likes to walk the neighborhood every morning, and he wanted to have some face masks, and so I was able to drop that off. But I've seen people sitting near each other on their front porches, somebody on the sidewalk, somebody on the front porch, be able to sit and chat and get to know one another. I've seen families navigate there's a church basketball court on their parking lot and a little small playground. But I've seen families negotiate, like someone's walking there and the other ones are walking there, and they're like, did you want to use that playground? And just let that family go, have their time, and then when they're done, you see them wiping off all the jungle gym stuff, and then the next family gets to go use it. So, there are some nice glimmers of how we can get to see one another, like really see one another, and say hi to one another, and care for one another, even from a distance.
Is there anything else you want to address or bring up or touch on? Here it comes, y'all.
I just really can't emphasize enough how I know it's hard, but now is the time that if you ever practiced any kind of faith that involves or asks you to find loving kindness and compassion, practice it. And when it's hard, practice it again. Get on that bike and try it again, and try to see it from someone else's perspective instead of seeing every action as some slight or meaning to be some offense, and maybe understand that it is coming from a space of fear, or it's coming from a space of ignorance. And I don't mean like a book learning, but just don't know, never lived that experience. And we have to forgive that we just don't all have the same experience. And I work on it.
Yeah.
I work on it so hard, because I'm like, what do you mean you don't know that I've been oppressed?
Didn't you read my blog?
Look at me. I am clearly oppressed. But so, and I have to just step and understand that we have not all lived the same experience. And can I step back for a moment, and can I really hear and remember that all I want to share is love? I got no reason to add anything into the soup on this planet right now that is ugly or mean or vicious or vindictive. So if you ever practice caring and loving, try it, and try it again, and try it again, and try it again. That's it.
I love that. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And right? That's my sister. Oh my goodness. Clearly, in some ways, born on the same tree. But like I said, she's got a lot more spiritual evolution than I do. So I'm going to put, I think that tail end, that's a really nice, tight clip to put out there, let you into the process a little bit. I always put the full things up on Vimeo and on YouTube, but for the socials, there's there's limitations on the length of stuff. So you can look forward to that. I'll probably link to it in the email list. And we also talked a bit earlier more about many more things. It was a 17-minute thing overall, and that was just the last four minutes of it. So I think, closing on us in the spirit of that, when she said those things, it caused me to pause for a minute, even in just how I respond to like the protest movement and the Liberate America stuff. And you probably heard me, if you were here at the beginning of the show, you probably heard me struggling a little to be like typical Baratunde, which is, that's some bullshit, get off my lawn, blah, 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 whatever. But also try to have a little bit of empathy. Like, where could they be coming from? Maybe there's folks who really can't afford to just be waiting at home for this curve to be flattened because we have no real social safety net in this allegedly developed country. But like, so there's all these little tangents off the thing, but it's hard. It's really hard. And some folks are just acting the damn fool too. They still deserve compassion, but you can also say that they're acting the damn fool. So this is you're witnessing my own process and struggle with this, because it's always a process and struggle to be a human being in the best way that you want to try to be. But that is a brief introduction to Belinda Thurston. You can find her at Just Be Yoga, JustByoga. I'll type it in the chat right now. And she's on Instagram and Facebook with those. She doesn't really do the Twitter thing anymore, even though 25 years she was a journalist. But that's a different story for a different time. So I want to thank everyone who joined in the room. We still have such a good crowd. I want to thank my correspondents, Dan Zoller out in the field, Josina Reeves in Flatbush, Brooklyn, who showed us her living room, Dawn Barber, who talked to us about New York City and tech, Jen Nickel, who just pioneered with the closet, and Wesley Faulkner, who shared, not on camera, but in the chat, his recent loss of his job. And we're wishing you the best, Wesley. And if we can be of help psychologically, maybe financially, maybe somebody on here is just balling like that and wants to Venmo you like your paycheck. You never know. Put that shit out there. The secret, bro. It could happen. It could be it. Or the PPP loan situation, can flow through and help out. And for those who we didn't physically hear from, thank you for hearing from those who spoke. And thanks for tuning in. I will be back. I do this show every Sunday on Zoom in this style. This is kind of like the Zoom show. And it's always 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and other time zones to be calculated by Google. And then I do an Instagram live version of the show on Thursdays, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And that's a whole different energy. I'm like standing. I can't bring people on camera as easily. So it's less communal in that sense, but I still try to create community out of it. And of course, there's the emails, the Recommend Tune Day emails. So I'm going to keep experimenting with getting folks involved and soliciting information. If you want to see something, you want to try something, my email. I'm Baratunde at Baratunde.com forever until there's no more internet. That's going to be my email. And I will defend it against all the spam bots in the world, because that is prized property. Get off my lawn, bots. So you'll hit me up with a message in any channel if you have a thought about how to continue doing these things that we're doing together. Good. I'm just checking the chat. No issues. And I was unmuted that whole time. So you all heard that, which I'm going to take as like major success. And to remove the veil, I'm going to turn off my virtual background. Yeah, this is what? He's not really in the Wakanda spirit realm. No. Yep, I'm in a room. In fact, oh my God, that's a proclamation from the city of New York. I'm going to show you all this. Hold on. I forgot. So what's fascinating about this, it was like, you can get a city council to like, declare anything. So it's sort of special. But what you really need to see is that these fools went through all the trouble of like proclaiming stuff and then misspelled my name. Look at that. Baratunde Thurston. And I kind of like that. A friend of mine actually got a corrected version of it, and I never went to pick it up because she lived in Queens. And now I'm never gonna get there. But real talk, I was like, I'm in Brooklyn, you're in Queens. This is not gonna happen, but I appreciate your efforts, and you can send me a picture of the corrected version. But they spelled the Baratunde right, and they misspelled the Thurston. That's like a whiff of justice. I kind of like that. I kind of like they got the Nigerian derived name and they fucked up the British one. We're going to be okay, people. We're going to be okay. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Live on Lockdown, Season 1, Episode 10. I'm Baratunde Thurston. And I should probably get some outro music for you. And so I'm going to go here and I'm going to play my favorite jam. One of my favorite jams right now. Let's go. Yeah. Gotta crank it. It's not loud enough. Turn that shit up. There we go.
Can't hear it.
Oh, wait, after all that, you can't hear it?
No.
That's hilarious. You just watching me dance. That changes things. Cool. So, you know what? That's a wrap. That's a perfect ending. I started with some broken audio. I'm ending with broken audio. I'm going to say it's all on purpose for balance and spiritual evolution. And you're welcome. Y'all have a beautiful day. I'll see you next week or some other time in the future.